different clocks I've looked at. Why don't we do a roll call of those that are here? Brett?
Present.
Harrison?
Here.
Steve Toft?
Here.
Kara Groff?
Here.
And then we have Scott Cromer, Elizabeth Sawecki, Michelle Reeder Paris, and Blake is our city commission liaison member. I have before me some minutes that were drafted April 28th, 21. Was that the last ones that we really? So
Yeah.
we had been meeting 4 times a year, and certainly it's good to keep our eye on what's going on at the cemetery, and I would hope that maybe we get back to some more regular meetings than what we have had recently. So would someone, and everybody's received a copy of these, would someone like to make a motion to accept the minutes as submitted?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes.
Thanks.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you. Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, those are accepted. Okay. Chairman Darden has been ill, and I've, spoken to him periodically between a while, and I haven't spoken to him recently, so I don't know what his intentions are as continuing as chairman of the cemetery board. Scott, do you know anything?
I think he was, if I'm correct, and maybe you can speak to it, is he was nominated for the ADA board, and I think he accepted that nomination, so he's gonna be on the ADA board
Okay,
at this time. So he has relinquished his role with the cemetery board.
okay. All right, so that brings us to the next item on our agenda, and that's we need to elect a chairman and vice chairman. And so we'll open it for nominations.
I'll nominate Harrison for chair.
I respectfully decline.
Okay. Yeah, you're the longest, been here the longest.
No, Kevin's been here a lot
Well,
longer than
behind
me.
Kevin, yeah. I'll nominate Kevin Zier for chair. There you go.
I accept. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second.
How about any other nominations for chair? How about vice chair? My opinion is I think we have some newer members. I think it's a great idea to get involved. I mean, really, the cemetery is a fun place to work. I mean, serve anyway. It's like a small city. We have streets and water and trees and, buildings and monuments to take care of. And we have a small government that helps rule the cemetery. So that's why I think it's kind of fun to serve on it. I nominate Kara Groff.
I'd like to know a little bit more about what is expected out of that role, given that
Well-
today's day one for me.
I was secretary for years, and, you kind of get a historical reference of what goes on when we're here, and you keep track of old business, new business, and if you take a look at the minutes, that's kind of what we did. As far as the vice chair's duty, it's kind of taken over when the chairman's not here, more than anything else, and just running the meeting. And, liaisoning with any employees we have at the cemetery that, have an issue that they want us to, that's everybody's job that's on the board, to see if we can work through them. So it's not heavy lifting, and if we meet 4 times a year, it's still not that bad. But that all depends on what we have to discuss, and we have some things to talk about, and that's, I guess, why we're here today, and I'm happy for that. So I would nominate you.
And what is the term of this? Is it until?
Is it
It's just the 1 year.
1 year term?
Yeah, we
So if you don't like it, you-
examine.
Okay, sure. I will accept for 1 year. That means you do have to schedule the meetings when you can show up.
That's the only thing. You just put them on your calendar the rest of, and you know they're there.
I think it's only one, right?
And it's well so far. And
This
it's a
time,
good
yeah.
way to get out of the office early. Usually we don't. The minutes will
Are they
run.
always on Wednesdays? Wednesdays was a
is
little
that
bit of
a
a
tough
challenge
day
for
for you?
me, but I am working on.
I don't know that they're, I mean, that's where they have been. Whether they have to remain there is up to the pleasure of the board, so.
Yes, up to the pleasure of the board.
If we're elected as vice chair, I would propose maybe a Tuesday if anyone is open. I don't know schedules of others, but.
Any other nominations for vice chair? Can we have a motion to close?
I so moved.
Thank you. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Would you also agree to cast unanimous ballot for those officers that have been named and nominated? Okay. All right, well, that's one of our items on our agenda. 2022 and first quarter financial statement. Michelle, are you ready for us?
Sure. So since it was April, was the last time we met, I kind of just gave everyone the year-end synopsis of where we are for 2022, and Elizabeth just put it on the screen for everyone. So the far right column, you'll see the actual revenue for 2022, totaled to be almost $106,000. We budgeted $111,500 for the year, so a little bit under budget, but nothing too out of the ordinary there. Looking historical, it's just basically sale of lots is where we see the largest revenue. You can never predict any year how many lots you're going to sell. So the revenue was almost $106,000 for the year, and the expenses for the year totaled $317,124. So it's typical, the cemetery's never going to make money. We had budgeted the expenditures to be $326,000 for the year, so they came in under budget. The largest areas of increases were to the contractual services and the materials and supplies. Just like everyone else, the cost of goods and services last year went up, plus also due to the guidance of this board and some internal conversations, they've been trying to do some more maintenance out there at the cemetery. So you'll see that those lines increased for 2022. So again, the total for the year was just $317,124. On the bottom of this report, it goes into all the different endowment accounts, and the available cash balances are on the far right. So some of them, go down to only $53 in the account, and then we have some as large as $247,000, but they each are unique on what they can have expended from each account. So those funds and the available cash are all listed there for you. We're not completely done with the first quarter for 2023, but just a synopsis of where we're at as of yesterday. We had the revenue in the general fund for the cemetery, almost $19,000, with expenditures at $68,000. Nothing out of line as far as the budget for 2023 that should be noted at this point. I'm happy to answer any questions anybody has on the financials.
And I can scroll up and down if you have something you want to look at.
I just have a silly question. Burial permits, is that like your opening and closing charges? Is that how you categorize that?
Yeah.
Correct.
Michelle, I had a question about the endowment funds, especially the ones that are dedicated to certain mausoleums. Does it happen that funds are added to those over the years, or once they're funded, they just kind of remain where they are?
Donations, I think, are the largest thing that we would get in the mausoleums, and you guys might know better than me of any new income specifically into one of those funds.
What we've seen in any of the legal documents of it is that there's initial startup on it, and then it's interest that's gained on it, and then
Okay.
a certain amount of interest can be spent per year on those funds. But I don't know that there's an additional amount added to individual ones over a yearly basis.
Someone might pass away and say, well, I'm gonna put some money in that mausoleum fund. And I just wonder if that doesn't sound like that happens very often, so.
No.
Okay.
but it's a possibility.
Is there a minimum amount that you want to carry in the mausoleum fund before you decide maybe it's not worth dealing with? I mean, I don't know what you do with it, though.
So you'd have to petition the courts to get rid of it. So it's a very complex process to eliminate something like this one. The Veterans Memorial and Flagpole has $53.56 in it, you know? If it's just gaining interest, it's not going to be amounting to much of anything anytime soon to be able to expend it. But unfortunately, we have to keep it separate, keep it on our books. And like I said, if we wanted to do something else with it, it would be petitioning the court to do something different with it.
So there's some upkeep involved in some of these mausoleum funds, is that true?
Yeah, according to the contracts, there is, and bear with me here, I just started kind of looking at them, so we haven't concentrated on them yet to dive into all of it, but yes, there are some upkeep that should be done as far as cleaning, maintaining is like the cracks, caulking
Yeah,
the cracks,
that's what I'm saying.
pressure washing, sealing, checking the roof. There was one that we just had, I would say on the ones we've had, there was one that the lock's been broke for years before I was here. We just got that fixed. One of the windows was broken out. We got that repaired. So that just happened within the last year that
Okay.
I think lingered on over time. So we're slowly trying to catch up with some of the stuff that kind of wasn't addressed.
Okay. The Veterans Memorial, is that the subject of donations from some of the veterans organizations? I know flags are donated periodically.
To be honest, I'd have to go back and see the original document to see what the original source of funds were.
Okay. Any other questions for our treasurer? Motion to accept the treasurer's report and put it on file, and if any questions arise, a member can approach.
So
Michelle.
moved.
Thank you, Harrison. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Steve. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay. Old business, Scott.
So with old business, we got approached about finding ways to increase revenue with a lot of the burial spaces being used up because it is an older cemetery. We looked at with direction from, I think Steve mentioned that like niches are a big thing where people are being cremated more. We were running out of space in our current niches. So we purchased one, I think 2-3 years ago. We recently purchased another niche to give us more opportunities for revenue. We purchased that niche with the current pricing. There's single or it can be a double. So roughly we're looking to make 50 to 70,000 on the sale of that niche alone. So that's the second one in the last 2 years. So that would be the same as the other one that we purchased. So that's another way we can increase our revenue.
Where is the second one located?
It's right there where the other ones are. So we have the Four Seasons, we have two originals. We put one back on the same footprint concrete pad, and then the other one is directly across from it.
Are there any left in the chapel?
A few,
Okay.
a few. A lot of them are already sold, just not filled.
And the garden mausoleum, how many are?
Garden Mausoleum,
About half a dozen.
yeah, there's not many left there either. And then in the mausoleum, there's not on the niche side, but there's some up at the top. there. Yeah.
Okay.
So the 2022 resurfacing, we got approached by Commissioner Harris about maybe improving some of the resurfacing out there. The asphalt's getting pretty deteriorated, potholes. We have some big trucks with the garbage trucks coming in and equipment. So this year, or last year, we did roughly 700 linear feet of asphalt. We did up around the house in the entrance and then the area going down to our shop area. This year, we expect to do the same. The area out back on the Columbus Ave entrance, there's a kind of a circle or turnaround right there that's pretty wore up. when we did the new surfacing, street department, we did a lot of it in-house. Street department came in and dug up the edge of the dirt where it meets the asphalt to widen it a little bit and then make that curve a little bit less, a little bit easier to turn. We get bucket trucks for forestry when we got to do tree removals. We got the garbage truck coming in to service our trash
I'll
can.
come in the Columbus Avenue entrance.
Yeah, so it's hard, it's pretty tight out there, so not only are we putting new asphalt and we're overlaying it because kind of build it up a little bit, but we're also trying to widen it a little bit where we can. We can't always do it in every place, but, so that's just, we're beefing up, putting a good base down so it doesn't get washed off and become a muddy mess out there, so. We did that, and then the improvements on the shop in conjunction with that, the shop out back, we had our staging area for dirt, stone for foundations, and our stone pile for the base for the foundations. We moved that up on the ridge, they call it the ridge, it's a little area up there. We put some concrete cubes on it to partition it off. We've got our dirt, we've got our stone, we've got our foundations now, and the city, when we do resurfacing projects, they grind the street and mill it out, and we get the blacktop grindings, we save those. We screen them in-house, and then we use that after we put a base down to make it flat and level. And we did that back there to make it so it's not so muddy. We got a lot of clay soil out there, so it tracks pretty good into the shop, and up by the house, we're trying to eliminate some of those things. So we also installed a new catch basin, trying to improve drainage down there. So kind of at the direction of Commissioner Blake and the board here is try to do some updates of that area and the roads out there, so. And then we also, there was concern with the cameras. We had probably, I would say, 5 to 10 years ago, we had some urns that were stolen out there. So they, I think, since found the person that stole them and got them returned, but in with that, to try to become more, aware of what's going on, we've also installed some security cameras at the house, because now with the manager that Dan retired here a couple of years, I think a year ago, so there's not a residence in the house at that time, so now we've got a security camera at the house, and we also put one down at the shop, because we also had activity going on behind the shop that the sheriff had to come and take care of. So this gives us eyes on it when we're not there during working hours to make sure everything's kept safe.
Have you considered putting someone in the house again as a night person that can watch and look?
I would say that, like, all options are on the table. We haven't really made a decision of where we're going to go from here.
Okay.
But we haven't said no, but we haven't said yes. We're just,
I mean, I haven't been through the house in forever, and I know some improvements were made
right.
not too long ago. So
So right now, we can even, if the board members would like to do maybe even Elizabeth could set up a time where we could all go out and you guys could walk through it and see we've done, like little updates, painting and stuff like that. But yeah, right now we don't have a plan, but we are kind of figuring out what the next step is moving forward.
okay. Anything else?
Under old business, yeah.
Yes.
What was the outcome of the person that wanted to install the big stone on the grave?
So that person, the stone, we have our rules and regulations that we have a standard. So we talked with her through that, and she conformed to our standard, and she secured a monument company to make it, and they're in the process of making it now. When she first made it, she didn't consult with us on what the standard was or the sizing or that. And the biggest concern was with operations, we didn't want to damage it. And with the size of it, getting down between the rows of the monuments, we were concerned with the excavator or backhoe running over that when we were having to dig a new grave. So we were really looking out for the best interest of not damaging, because obviously the size that she was proposing was huge, and probably very expensive. I don't know exactly the amount, but I can only imagine. So we didn't want to damage that. And since that, yes, it is going to get installed to the standard that we required. And we haven't heard from the monument company that it's done so it can get placed. So we're just waiting on that now.
Who is it that's doing,
Yeah.
that bought the monument? I don't remember.
The monument company that's doing it,
No.
yeah, I'd rather not speak of the name
Okay,
on
very
camera,
well.
honestly.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Try to be complete in your
No,
minutes.
I get
Who is
it.
this
I just, yeah. So, but yes, it's all settled
Okay.
and it's going to be installed.
Okay, the cemetery employees does not install those monuments, right?
We don't install the upright monuments. The flush mount, yes, they drop them off and we'll do a flush mount monument we install the foundation, and then because of the way it sits and it's got to be flush, we've got to set it, we've got to know the depth of it so it sits flush down so it doesn't get hit with
Okay, who installs the upright monuments in?
the monument maker.
Monument company? Okay.
Yep. We don't want the liability of something happening. They're big, they're heavy. We don't want to take on the liability if
Right.
it would break or fall or crack so we leave it to the professional.
Thinking like a lawyer.
Well,
Okay, any other old business questions from anyone? New business?
so new businesses, we have, I think it was sent out in the email from Elizabeth, of our rules and regulations. There's a few changes in there that we wanted to address at this time. The last time it was addressed was
2006,
Yeah,
I believe.
2006, so it's been a while. So we want to clean a few things up. And if anybody's got questions on those, I can certainly try to answer them best that I can.
I know there was some issues with people wanting to sell what they purchased, and I think you addressed that in here and how it can be done. And it used to be if what had been purchased wasn't utilized within 25 years, and it would revert back to the cemetery. I saw you extended that to 50, and frankly, I don't see any problem with that.
It's my understanding that the way you fixed it up, if the grave space isn't used in 50 years, you have the right to sell it to somebody else?
We would notify if we had like an address or anything on record, we would notify who bought it that it's been 50 years since and no one's been there, and we would send a certified letter. If we don't get a response, then yes, we would move ahead and sell it.
Well, I know from my own experience, I bought grave spaces 55 years ago, and I'm not in mine.
Right.
So,
Right.
but it is, I think once those people buy that and they pay for it, it's theirs. You can't take it back.
The reason we brought it up is because we've had some families come in, and from what we've researched is when they bought back in the 60s, 50s, when they sold burial spaces, they sold them in lots from everything that we can see. And when they sold them in lots, they didn't have a choice to buy one burial space. So we have several lots that are bought by a family, and they have, let's say, this is just rough, let's say they have 6 or 8 spaces. They only intended to use 1 or 2 spaces, because we see that they're buried there, but no one else is there for the last 60, 70 years. So we've had families come in that say they bought a burial space next to these lots, and they're looking to purchase a space for their family, whether it's daughter, son, whatever. And they want to purchase it, they're kind of closed off to where they can purchase anything around their family. And here's these spaces that have been, not in use for 70, 60, 50, 60, 70 years, and they're asking us if we could buy that space. So this is why, like, we went in there, we didn't change anything from what it originally said. We cleaned up, I think, the legal aspect of it, and then, and Sarah may be able to touch on that, but we only increased from 25 years to 50 years and made it even longer period because of what you said. Like, some people might not use it for 25, 30, 40 years. We looked at like what was a standard across cemeteries, and 50 years seemed like that was the standard that a lot of other ones used. So we want to be sympathetic to the ones that purchased it and keep it for their family, but also we have families approaching us that are wanting to buy it to be next to their family or have other families, members. And it's like, we have 3-4 spaces that are unused for 60 years. Are they ever going to be used? And here's an opportunity to where we can, like Michelle, here's an opportunity to increase some revenue and actually satisfy a family that wants other members be buried by them. So this is, really, we didn't change anything that was already in the rules and regulations. We actually put more years on it. So it's not like it's a new change that we came up with. We came up with trying to get something that would work, also taking into account, like, they did purchase it, and we want to notify them and let them know, to the best of our knowledge, that we are going to do this prior. I hope that answered. If you got any other questions, I mean,
And you've looked at the updates to Ohio Revised Code on that before making any?
Yes. So,
Okay, I was reading them because I haven't looked at any of the updates here lately. I just want to make sure that was compliant. Okay.
yeah, so just a bit of background on this. We looked, the law department and Elizabeth and Scott, we all looked at about 60 different cities and what they did to reclaim burial spaces. So that informed our decision when we were writing this.
You ever get approached to buy cemetery lots, spaces back from the
Yes.
owners?
we do.
How is that handled?
So if they want to buy it back, we have where we will purchase back at the purchase price. So if they bought it 50 years ago,
No speculating on the increase in value.
no, we buy it back at that price, and then we also put an administrative fee because we have to do the paperwork to invoice them or receive the
Okay.
money. So there is an additional fee for,
Deeds.
yeah, yep. And we've had a few, I mean, we've had not a whole bunch, but maybe a dozen.
We do no, more like 2 to 3 a year. Yeah.
I was thinking the last 2-3 years, but
Yeah.
yeah, okay. It's not
Oh,
often,
sorry,
but it
yeah.
does, and we do want to, I mean, that's
It
another
might-
way we can sell it, and,
It
You
might
know.
help the issue that you're talking
Right.
about. You've got unused spaces. Well, we've
Right.
got 3 here. Want to sell them, we'll buy them back.
right.
So,
It's pretty unique, I mean, Elizabeth led the charge in researching a lot of that, and it's pretty unique how they did sell them in actual, like, they didn't sell 1 or 2 spaces, it was like a lot type, where it was either 6 or 4 or 8 of them. And to our knowledge, from what we read on the deeds, it's like they had to buy the whole thing. They couldn't just buy like 2 of them. I'm not sure why that was.
people planning to have more people buried there.
Yeah,
More children. I know
Yeah,
around
maybe
here,
they
they
moved
used
away
to
and-
target
yeah.
young
Yeah.
married couples who were just starting out with a family, so.
and they had big families back then, so it made sense, I mean, to, to have multiple lots, but.
Plus the cost of them too at that point. Could buy a grave for $25.
Well, there are some changes. There's some, like on page 16, I'm looking, there's a whole new paragraph. Other places, it's like just little changes throughout. What is your pleasure? Page by page? Accept the changes that have been suggested?
I move that we accept the changes that, and how they are written.
Okay. Is there a second?
I would second it.
Thank you, Steve. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
It's okay. Now, that doesn't mean that next meeting we can come back with, this is something that's come up and we need to change it. It's not
No.
like we have to wait to do everything at once. We can do it in a piecemeal fashion, but I appreciate and I expect, Paris, you went through these, did you?
Sarah.
Yes, Elizabeth and Scott went through
Okay.
them as well, so they were very helpful.
All right. Changes are accepted. What else do we have today? Our next meeting, September 27th, 2023. And again, that's a Wednesday. Would you like to talk about changing that? It makes no difference to me.
I'm open. Doesn't matter to me.
Make any difference
Nobody
to me.
cares. I would propose either a Monday or a Tuesday evening, but if anyone has
Let me,
all for bowling or anything.
let me see if I can get to our website.
Tuesday
The
would
only
work better for
issue
me.
Tuesday?
would be making
Yeah, I
sure.
mean, or Wednesday, but if you want to change it, fine with me, Tuesday. Are we going to stick with this schedule? I mean, 2 meetings a year? Or are we going back to every quarter?
It doesn't, I mean, we weren't sticking with anything. If something comes up, we can add them in as needed. We just put it on there just so everybody's got an idea of when the next one would be. If you guys feel like you'd want another one because of a certain reason, we can add another one. We're not against that. There's no requirement, I guess, for minimum or maximum meetings, so it's really up to you guys.
So as far as Tuesdays in September go, it looks like the 19th or the 5th would be open in terms of not overlapping or conflicting with other commissions and boards. So that's the first Tuesday in September, or 19, which is the third Tuesday.
Beginning there, is that Labor Day?
Monday is Labor Day.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, and I'm sorry, there, for some reason, because there's more than one on the 19th. The 19th, there are conflicts, so you would have to meet at 3 o'clock or earlier if you did it
Or a
Tuesday.
Wednesday a bit earlier
Okay,
also.
so the only, bear with me.
I'm sorry, I'm just juggling children, so.
Wednesday work too, because I got sporting events, but I think I'm out of the younger ones.
Yeah, that's my issue.
I'm gonna go all the way back.
So are you saying maybe 3
3, yep, on a Wednesday is much easier.
issues? So if we keep the same day, Wednesday, September 27th at 3 o'clock? would that be okay?
Yes, we can do that.
Okay.
If that works, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Next meeting is at 2 o'clock,
No, 3.
3?
3, same day at 3. Just
On
move
the
it an hour.
27th.
Perfect.
Perfect, thank you.
All right.
you.
Good to see everyone.
Yeah, thank you.